Hello, friends, and as almost always, I am not Roy Rogers. I am instead Aaron Pulse Glazer. I am joined today by the returning, the great Gunny T, where the T stands for whatever I remember to say next. How you doing, Gunny?
I'm doing fantastic, Aaron. And yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. I've had a bit of a wild day, but outside of that, things are going pretty well.
Is it as wild as the other day? What was it, Monday or Tuesday? Man, you had a wild day.
Oh, when we chatted in the morning, that's just a day for me at this point.
Sure.
It was like, I did 17 Marvel Snap things. Here's my list of Marvel Snap things. He was like, you did all that? And I was like, yeah, that's just...
It was only noon by that time.
Yeah, look, things got to get done.
It's crazy.
So, the intros are not Roy and Glazer. Cross out that Roy. It's Gunny and Glazer if you're watching on the YouTube/Twitch side of things. We are also going to introduce our wonderful guests. We have returning one of my very, very favorite people in the entire Marvel Snap community. She genuinely, is like freaking hilarious. I don't know how else to put it. But she makes me laugh uncontrollably when I watch her streams, and she was one of my favorite guests last time she was on, so we had to get her back. She's also, and she's gonna pretend she's not, actually pay attention because she's ridiculously insightful. It is KiddilyChan. How you doing, Kiddly?
Hi, thank you so much for having me back.
Absolutely a pleasure. We are also joined by the host of the newest member of the Snap Judgments Podcasting Network's newest podcast. We are joined by Kiernimbus, who's going to both introduce himself and tell us all about his podcast.
Hi, yeah, me. It's Kiernimbus. I have a podcast that is like Glazer's podcast, but the complete opposite in that I take as little time as possible to get through everything. You can also find me on YouTube where I cross-post things, and if you like Marvel stuff, I do all of that too.
It's a delight. It's like fast, it's energetic, it's a really great time. Please do go check it out. And how could they find it? What's it called?
It's the Infinot podcast, and it's spelled INFINOT podcast, as opposed to the Infinot card.
And I just have to mention before we go any further, for anybody who's watching this on YouTube or anywhere else where they're just watching the video, you cannot see Kiernimbus's amazing blazer and matching tie, looking pristine today, there, sir.
Thank you. I can't get rid of my gimmick. It's actually glued to me.
We've got both a amazing jacket and tie and bunny ears. So, Kiddly, how can people find you?
So I'm on Twitch at KiddilyChan, Twitter KiddilyChan, and then on Instagram with KiddilyStreams.
Awesome. Please do make sure you go check that. I had no idea you're on Instagram. I'm actually not, but awesome. All right. If you're interested in engaging further with our show, please check out Snap Judgments Pod on YouTube. That's just statistically most likely the place you're seeing this. The podcast also exists on Spotify and all your favorite podcatchers. We also have a Twitch stream, twitch.tv/PulseGlazer, where you can watch this recorded live, and where if you're seeing this before Sunday, I have no idea when this goes live anymore. If you're seeing this before Sunday, I will be live on the front page of Twitch. So hopefully you stop by and check that out. Mr. Gunny, you have something to advertise as well, my friend.
Yes, so if this ends up going out hopefully Saturday morning, Saturday evening, we'll be holding our last King of the Hill tournament to get your wild card chance to be into the season finale of the Snap Judgments League Season 5. So join us. It's open to all of our patrons. You can find out more information in our announcements page, but it's a cool little tournament we do, about 2 to 3 hours long. And then the prize is a wild card chance. For instance, this season we have 4 pods that we filled up, and I need 4 other slots to fill. So all of our King of the Hill winners are the ones that are randomly selected to fill in those 4 other seeds so we can have a top 8 to play off into our season championship.
So I really need some top players to join this because, like, right now, both Butt and Ratco are out, and kicking both Butt and Ratco out is like bringing me incredible joy. So
Butt
I need
did
really
win
good
his
players.
wild card today.
Of course he did. Damn it! We were
and
almost
Dragon's
get
still
a new
in there,
champ.
just trying to keep other people from getting more wild cards. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I know. All right, let us keep it going to now talk about the OTA, which we're going to kick off with the 4 Hella nerfs. Hella is now a 6/6, Swordmaster a 3/6, Hellcow a 4/6, and Black Cat a 2/6. That's a lot of sixes, right? That was all sixes? Am I making that
Yeah.
up? Am I losing my god? I was like, I don't think I realized that. I've never read them all in a row before. So 4 different cards are removed from the deck. That is a total of 7, 8, 9, -9 power for the deck. Kiernimbus, what do you think about the Hella nerfs?
I mean, okay, so first of all, the Black Cat change might be the most crazy to me because, I mean, now that Hellas Text has changed, having a 4 cost completely removed from that equation, I'm almost like, what are the chances that you're going to discard a 4 cost card that isn't Black Cat? Like, are you putting Crossbones in your deck to replace it? I would highly doubt it. I mean, a 2/6 isn't terrible. You might still use Black Cat, but okay, so you take off 4 power from that. You take off 1 power from Swordmaster. You take off another 3 power from Hela and another power off of Hellcow, and you've essentially lost a card worth of points. I think it's worth about what 9, 10 points.
9. Unless I
Yeah,
did
I
the
mean
math
that's
wrong. 9.
that's insane. I wish you to imagine for a moment the Surtur list. They just knock off 10 power from Scar. They just like chop it off. That would kill that deck. I think this one might still survive, but this is pretty intense. Like I don't think I've seen this many nerfs on the same deck before.
Kidley?
Yeah, I played Hella with 3 of those 4 cards mostly, but I just don't know how to play it with all of this this power reduction. So I feel bad for Moo Cow because Moo Cow used to be like what discard 2 things immediately, and
Mhm.
did it used to be like 4/8, or am I imagining things? Maybe it was always 4/7.
No, I think you're right. It was 4/6,
Mhm.
and they made it 4/8, and yeah, it's had a journey, but yeah, it was 4/8.
Yeah, and I feel like for Black Cat, I'm not sure if that's like that bad in my opinion, because what else are you discarding that's going to come back at 2 cost? Because like Swarm is the other 2 cost, but that one's not coming back for not for Hella. But I don't know. I feel like Black Cat might be okay. I don't know what other 4 cost you could put in instead. Maybe Jubilee? Because I have Jubilee and that kind of thing, and maybe Jubilee can come back and pull somebody. But it seems tricky. I didn't see anyone playing it after the nerf this afternoon. So that one's a little bit sad.
Gunny.
Yeah, I think they may have just went a little bit too far in some of this stuff. For instance, the taking Hela to only getting cards of different cost, I don't know why that also had to be accompanied with a power loss. I feel like it could have stayed at a 6/9 very easily. It's just such a huge hit to that deck in general. And hear me out. I think Hellcow could probably be reverted to discarding 2 cards at this point, and it would be fine with the way it is right now. The Black Cat nerf is interesting because it has the ability to possibly be played in other decks just because of the upside of it being a 2/6. So that'll be interesting to see if it finds any other homes. But the deck, it's such a huge hit. I don't know if it's going to be able to live through this one.
So I'm getting flooded with messages that the deck is totally fine. I don't believe that, bluntly. I've played enough Hella to realize that you win a lot of Hella games by like the skin of your teeth, by an extra point or 2 in a lane where things land here, an extra point or 2 in a lane where things land there. But like, if Hella is going to be consistent, it has to have those points that it loses, right? Otherwise, because it's so random, it's just like the thing always happens, or the thing happens more often than not, and then just you see where the cards land, and you win or lose based on that. So I think that this is like fairly warranted. Hella was the last 2 weeks, the highest win rate deck in the game. I don't think Hell is supposed to be the highest win rate deck in the game. Like, that's fundamentally where I am. I hope this doesn't kill it, but I hope this makes it a middling deck. I hope this makes it a good deck that can go off and really do its thing, but like, doesn't always. A lot of the time against Hella, I was like, I can win this lane, but if they play Hella's 9 power here, I'm going to have a lot of trouble. And if they play Hella's 9 power here, I'm probably okay. And you just sort of have to take that gamble. That card is 6 power, significantly better. And there is the one problem with Black Cat costing 2. It's that occasionally you're going to accidentally discard. You're either running Thunderbolt Ross or Adam Warlock. And if you randomly discard those cards, like accidentally, because sometimes you'll draw them late, right? Like you've already discarded Black Cat, you drew Black Cat, it's gone. You draw a like at the end of the game, right? You draw a Adam Warlock or a Ross, and then you trigger your Hell Cow. And when you trigger your Hell Cow, all of a sudden you're hitting another 2-drop, and now that's like a problem. I think Hell is fine. Like I think it's going to be a fine deck. I just don't think it's going to be a meta deck, and I think that's probably like the safest place for it in like terms of design space.
Here's one interesting thing about what Hela can possibly turn into is it being more of like a good stuff discard deck instead of it being pure, high points, which is what it's always been in the past. So it'd be interesting to see how it moves in what they use the discard for, as opposed to just discarding 6, 7s, and 8s.
Yeah, it's interesting you brought that up. I think, for example, with Hell Count, maybe you swap that out for something like Silver Samurai and you go for like an Iron Man Gore sort of situation, specifically because the power that you want is going to be from the cards here. Like having a buff to your board might be worth it too. I don't know. Part of me is like, why would you play Hell Count at this point? I like, the 7 power was enough to tip the card over into like, okay, it's a little overstated and it has that effect at the end of the game. That's cool. But now that Black Cat isn't automatically discarding herself and Hell Cow is a 4/6, it's like, I don't know, maybe you do explore different options with that. I could see a build maybe where you go heavy into like Colleen Wing and Silver Samurai and try to get the low power stuff out, so that the effect on the board is a lot better.
I don't think you can cut Hell Cow. I think you can run Silver Samurai, but I don't think you can cut Hell Cow, because what Hell Cow says is this is a discard that if I get on the board, I can always trigger and never hit Hela. And like that's just so valuable for this deck. So like if he was like a 4/4, I'd still probably run him. 4/6 is fine. It's not good, but it's fine. Like it's an average 4/6. That's Iron Patriot. That's Galacta. You not Iron Patriot. Iron Lad. Galacta, right? Like you're fine with that. It's not great, and again, like you're going to lose an X percentage of games for every point you lose in a Marvel Snap deck. But like I think that any discard that is 100% safe, because that's what Hela's real power is right now. There was a point, if you played early enough in Marvel Snap's life cycle, right, where Blade hit a totally random card, and like their death was the only thing above 6. I guess that was fairly recent too. But like, and so your Lady Sif, if you just didn't happen to draw death, was like really dangerous. And then like there were all these other completely random discards that you had to run, and half the time you played Hela, you just ended up chucking Hela, and there was no like way to do that. Hela's power, like Hela's prominence, rose with the change in how often you were discarding her. Because if you're not discarding her, there are cards like Jubilee, there are cards like Adam Warlock, there are cards like Blink that will get you the damn card Hela. So the question is, can you put up enough power around that discard package to like win? And look, a 4/10 is top line stats for a 4-drop. A 3/7 is top line stats for a 3-drop. A 4/7 is ahead of rate stats for a 4. A 6/9 isn't half bad. That's Goliath. Like the stats on all these cards are just really good. And like getting a bunch of really good stats and then saying I'm also going to bring back 40 power on the last turn is a lot. So like the stats had to come off somewhere, but like the deaths and the scars of the world have other decks, so you don't want to take the stats off there, right? So like the stats have to come off somewhere, so they come off the discarders. I don't think it's like the most elegant solution in the world, but I think it's reasonable.
I concur.
Cool. Further thoughts? Are we good to talk about 2099? Oh, Kidley, go.
Well, is it that discard like historically has had higher power levels than other types?
Yes, but that was originally offset by the discard being totally random. They kept the high power when they changed the cards, right? Because Swordmaster was a 3/7 just discard a card.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's a really good point.
Like Blade was a 1/3, which is ahead of rate for a 1, discard a random card forever. So like they changed it to being like targeted, but they kept the big stats, and that's where it ended up being funky.
I see. So it was always high power. Now it's just like, I guess that's where it's balancing out. But
Hopefully. All right. Doombot is now 4-0. Kidley, want to take us away?
yeah, I tried this afternoon at the 4-0. I'm so sad because I only got Doombots recently, like the Doom 99 card, and I got it after the first nerf. Now, still trying to play it after the second nerf. It was so painful. I'm so sad. But I don't know. I might try to make it work. It was really strong when it was first released. I'm not sure if it needed the second nerf, but I saw other people playing it too, so I think it's still trying to make it.
Here.
I mean, you're more of an expert on the meta than I am. I would imagine that this takes this card out of like your general good cards list and probably puts it exclusively in a combo list or Spectrum, right? I mean, I think in Spectrum, this is still incredibly valuable. I don't think that's changed at all. You can still get 4 extra bodies on the board for Spectrum to buff. And you already have other cards in there, like Captain America and Blue Marvel, that's going to buff the power of the Doom bots. So I think in Spectrum, this is still completely playable. I'm still going to play it on my Spectrum list, but I would imagine like they're trying to prevent this card from slotting into other decks because it's too good to have extra things on the board for free, and that's what this card was doing.
Jenny?
Yeah, so I think here you made a really good point there, where it's still really good in a dedicated deck, but overall you're losing about 3 points of power. And I imagine in decks where you're just running it as good stuff, especially spreading throughout the board, those 3 points are actually going to matter. Because the unfortunate thing you run into when you're spreading across the board is you're generally not winning by that many points in any of your lanes, right? As opposed to trying to win 2 lanes in particular, where you're trying to go really high points on those lanes. So those 3 points may come to matter a lot more if you're not dedicated to the Doombot 2099 line.
So they were already nerfed from a 4-2, right? So they went from 4-2 to a 4-1, now to a 4-0. That means like that's -6 to 8 power on a deck. I don't think decks survive -6 to 8 power as a rule. Same exact logic as Hella. I think they went a bridge too far, but I also think we're looking at this the wrong way. I don't think this is a nerf for right now. I think they're taking this out of the meta for 2 weeks. But next month, the month we're not actually going to talk about in this episode, we have basically a whole ongoing month where like Captain Carter is coming out. It's Captain Carter, right? I'm not making that up. Whatever. I think it's Captain Carter. Thank you. I didn't watch the show, so I'm always slightly off on that.
See, I'm a huge fan, so I'm excited.
Really? I don't like What If.
Really? Damn.
Yeah.
All right.
I didn't like it. No, whatever. Neither here nor there. Ow. I definitely gave myself a splinter with my beard, so that's a great feeling.
No.
That's what I'm doing. I'm just like, it's hard to talk because I've got a piece of hair stuck in my finger. Oh, we just got raided.
By Ika.
Ika. Thanks, Ika. Ow. This is ridiculous. It really does hurt.
You need to get that splinter out. Your
I'm
body's going to
trying.
absorb it.
It's
never
my
find it
hairs.
again.
It's my hair, so it's not the end of the world. I always forget that could happen. I'm just like playing with my beard while I'm listening. I was like, ow, did I just stab myself with my own hair? And it's stuck in there. Whatever. I think once the new ongoing cards come out, this card gets a ridiculous buff. Captain Carter gives its own power to the things in front of this, and when you start putting extra power on Doombots, you get free things to put extra power on, basically. And then there's other things that give ongoing cards different buffs, and like these are ongoing cards, so like it just becomes a cycle of extra buffs. And I think that they realize that that's going to break the card, so because it still has a reasonably high win rate, they nerfed it. A bunch of people, when they realize this, are going to complain. They're going to be like, you sold us Doom 2099, and now you're selling us Captain Carter to make Doom 2099 good. That's unethical. And like, maybe, right? Like, I'm not going to put it at beyond them that this was some devious plan, but I also think that once they realize that combo was broken in testing, like, too damn bad, you got to do something with it. All good?
Yeah,
Final
let's
thoughts?
talk about a big change. I'm excited about this next one.
Sam Wilson's shield is now in 0-1 instead of a 1-1. Kier?
Yeah, this kills like 4 of my decks, so yikes. I and I don't think that this is. I don't know. I feel like this is fair. If you look at the statistics, I'm sure on their end they're actually like even more insane than what we have access to. But it doesn't feel great. Like this, the ability to like play Cold Obsidian or have this, buffed by Marvel Boy were some of the coolest interactions that I used the card for. So now that that's gone, it's probably just going to be like, in my Spectrum deck, and maybe I'll throw it elsewhere. But it's like it loses its synergy in Zoo and that sort of mini package. So I'd be interested to see if this card is as good without that extra help. But I mean, their statistics have got to be showing something insane, perhaps with Cole and other buff cards.
Yeah,
Kidley?
absolutely. Kidley, what do you think?
Thank you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so the combination with Cull Obsidian was really strong. It was basically a lot of like repeat, just nonstop Cull. It's nice that it's only still like 0, so it's still free and it's still up there immediately, but I still think it could work with Cull. You just have to put down a different 1 cost. I don't think it's going away, in my opinion. It seems like that's not a big enough like change that it just takes it out of commission. But I'd be curious to see what types of decks it evolves into instead of just like the typical Cull Obsidian one.
Johnny?
Yeah, so one of the things I see with this is almost like the White Widow issue, where it just became the best 2-drop you could be doing in pretty much any deck. And what they had mentioned in the notes was specifically about Call, whereas it being a 1 cost was just something they didn't think about, right? It was not, the shield wasn't really supposed to enable that. And what it allowed you to do was play Call and have none of the drawback of needing to play 1-drops in your deck, which is kind of ridiculous, right? So I think this is a great change. It will make it to where you don't have to play this card in every single deck. So we go back to having 12-card decks instead of 11-card decks, which is pretty awesome. But I do think that the synergy specifically with Cull Obsidian was a bit much for no cost, really. It was already a good card. It's a good card. If it was a bad card, like if it didn't do anything, like sure, then there's a cost to playing it, but it was a good card. So then being able to play it with Cole, which is also a good card, just didn't make sense.
So on last Friday, I put this in my top 10. I put Zoo in my top 10 decks video. And like Zoo was able to run 2 1-drops because it had this card. Because like it had Kate that could generate 1-drops. It had Shauna and Squirrel Girl, which generate 1-drops, and then you just run Squirrel Girl and another 1-drop, and then you always have this on the board. And then your Marvel Boy is always going crazy. And my chat, yet literally last night was like, not my chat, my Discord general chat was like, why the hell are Zoo's stats the best in the game? And it's like, well, you see what happens is if you don't have to run 1-drops in Zoo, all of a sudden, all those extra scalers and all that extra power just gets real strong. And like, Cull Obsidian worked the same way, right? Like, there was a real cost to playing Cull Obsidian in everything but Thanos. And he was built for Thanos. So, like, there's a real cost to playing Cull Obsidian if you want to play a Scar deck. Now you're running 3 ones instead of maybe just Sabu. That cost is real, right? Like, taking that out of the game is probably a good idea. Not because it was necessarily too strong, although it was pushing too strong, but because it made the card too omnipresent. Like, it wasn't just good in a lot of decks, it was necessary as an extra piece for a lot of decks. And I don't think they especially want that. They did keep it alive for its most recent synergy, though. This card remains amazing with Agamotto because you can stack that lane and then the images of Icon
Yeah.
with the shield is still wildly strong. And that's like this incredibly valid and viable way to use the card. And that's still there. And plus, like, it still works in all the Scream decks. They didn't remove it from Scream decks because Scream decks had already stopped running Cull because of the arrow change. So, like, they didn't break the card. They said you can use it in a fewer places. And now, like, this isn't clearly better than other options in some places, and you have to like make deck building concessions if you want to run really powerful, straightforward synergies. This OTA, or at least this part of the OTA, feels like an attack on very straightforward play patterns. Like Hela is play card, play one card a turn, discard a card, play one card a turn, discard a card. Doom 2099 literally says play one card a turn. Sam Wilson's place in the Surtur deck was like drop one big idiot a turn. Last turn, drop multiple big idiots plus Scar. And then like even the Zoo deck is like Zoo is honestly playing one card a turn because it's going Marvel Boy on 3, Kazar on 4, Blue Marvel on 5. Like it's an attack on really, really simple and straightforward Marvel Snap for this entire section. I don't think I realized that until I talked about them all together. But I do think that is that's an interesting direction, right? Like that they're saying we let the game get a little simple. We made a lot of really simple strategies very powerful. Let's amp things up a little bit. Thoughts? Good?
Yeah.
We got a whole other page of stuff to get to.
Oh, yeah.
Loki's a 1/2. Kidley?
I'm so excited. I love Loki. I think Loki was my first season pass card. So I am so excited that he's 1/2, ready to go. Because I miss when Loki was easier. I feel like they changed it so much that it wasn't as popular. But I always loved the playstyle, so I'm just excited to see more of it.
Here?
Yeah, I mean, okay. I'm a certified Loki hater. Not that I actually hate Loki or this current iteration, but when Loki came out, I absolutely despised the deck. I understand that there was a sort of like competitive side to Loki that made the deck considerations like interesting, but I think this actually makes sense for what his effect does. You're getting a bunch of random cards in a random sequence, and you're hoping to slap together a strategy. Weaving this into your curve, I think, is going to be a lot easier, and I think this works way more as a backup plan. I am just going to point out, though, this does feel weird when you compare it to something like Snowguard or like Iceman. I like as a one cost, this is insanely strong, but maybe the decks just need that extra help.
Gun.
So I'm actually pretty excited about this. Loki hasn't been in a really good place for quite a while. You posted a deck recently that put up some good numbers, but overall it just hasn't, kind of been anything that we've really had to consider for a while. And one thing what I think this Loki change really does is a 2/2 Loki later in the game, not played on turn 2, feels real bad. But if you play Loki turn 3 now with a decent 2-drop, that doesn't feel bad anymore. If you play Loki on turn 2 with, a Loki and a decent 1-drop. So now just being able to slot it in much easier is going to make that pain of playing Loki a lot less. So I think that's going to be very interesting for it. Maybe even turn 3, you get to play Loki and Adam Warlock together in a lane. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if they play an Iron Patriot in a different lane, right? They're like,
Right?
I'm going to play an Iron Patriot lane. You're like, freebie. Loki is first. The thing everyone's going to yell about, like I guarantee everyone's yelling about this. It's back turn 1 in Arishem. That's going to be hard to deal with. Loki and Arishem never bothered me as much as it did other people. I'm going to be honest. Like, that wasn't... Honestly, the 3/5 Loki draw card was too good, but I didn't hate it. Like, it wasn't too good in a way that really made the game feel unfun for me, so I didn't super give a crap, ultimately. I look forward to being frustrated on stream, as people do that to me every time I play Arishem, but such is life, right? Like, there's always something that's going to be frustrating. I wish they had done this when Loki was in Spotlights 2 freaking weeks ago, because I kept saying, like, we knew Loki was underperforming. We knew that Loki's a popular card that they're likely to buff again. Then it was in Spotlights, and they were like, no, it's still terrible. And now they're like, haha, it's great. Don't you wish you had it? And that's really obnoxious. At least it did series drop. Also, all those people that ignored getting King Eitri,
oh god, that's me.
Yeah, good job. Stop ignoring when they give you free shit. Like, it may never be useful, right? But like, odds are they're not incompetent, right? Plus, I don't know if you all realize this, but if you draw a card on something, it's usually pretty solid. So if you didn't get King Eitri, all of a sudden King Eitri and Loki are absolutely incredible together. I would not be shocked if this ends up too good. Loki is an incredibly strong effect. Saying on turn 1 I've got my starting hand and then your deck at -1 cost is a lot. This is absolutely incredible in Agamotto decks. It's probably going to be good in some like werewolfy shells. I'm not sure if this is too good, but I'm happy to find out. Kier?
It just occurred to me as you were talking, that like really strong effect on 1, I think is important. I was just talking about how I felt like as a 1 cost, it felt a little too strong, but we do have Zabu in the game. So like, maybe it's fine. Maybe the idea with Loki is like later in the game, it's okay as like a backup plan, throw everything to the wall and see if it sticks. But if you get Loki on 1, you have like a pretty good shot of winning. That might be a snap condition. I don't know.
Yeah, I could just see it. Like, it's Loki. And like, anytime Loki's been bad exactly once, right? When he was a 2/2, he was bad. Every other iteration of Loki has been fairly freaking broken. So I'm just going to assume that Loki's going to be fairly freaking broken. And if I'm wrong, we've got a second time that it's fine. Like, I don't really, but like, let Loki be broken for a little bit. They've got a reasonably, like, I very rarely freak out about the meta in the same way many people do because they change everything every 2 weeks. So, like, if Loki's too good, odds are we have 4 weeks of Loki being too good because it'll be 2 weeks for them to gather data, and then another 2 weeks they'll change it. Okay. At some point around the end of that second 2 week period, because I play a lot of Marvel Snap, I will get frustrated. But until then, I'm willing to take a wait and see approach.
I mean, one thing I've always liked about Loki is it's so new player friendly. It's 1 card that can dramatically change your ability to play, right? You buy Loki, and if you build a reasonable deck around it and you're able to play Loki, then you get to play with all the broken cards that somebody else is playing that you don't own.
Also, I can use my President Loki variant now, so that's cool. I like that card.
Kid Loki for life. Journey into mystery. I
agree, though. I think Loki is amazing for beginners. That is actually how I learned how to play different strategies and use cards that I had no access to for a very long time.
It's why I'm happy Arishem exists too, right? Like, people need a way to play these cards and play these decks, and people are like, I don't like playing against it. Like, too bad, suck it up. Thanos is now a 6/12, and the Time Stone is a 1/2. I believe Kier goes first now? Oh, Gunny wants to go first, I guess.
Oh, I don't know. I'm just saying yes.
The T stands for Thanos?
I guess. I just love Thanos. Thanos is such a cool deck. I really enjoy it, kind of like for the same reason as Loki. You can build a deck around Thanos reasonably easily. And one thing I've always kind of hated about Thanos starting in your hand, or even in general, is it has the high evolutionary drawback, which is like you don't want to play the card. Making it a 6/12 makes it a card you want to play, especially if it's a 5/12. That's pretty awesome. So having Thanos mean something in the deck is pretty cool. And then the Space Stone going up to a 1/2 is just a little icing on the cake. Let's see if we can give Thanos just a little bit, because it's lacking. It's not in the top performing decks. Let's see if we can bump it a little bit closer to the top performing decks and get its play rate up just a little bit more. Because again, if Thanos is bad, it's kind of bad for Marvel Snap. It's what this game is built around. You kind of at least want Thanos to be a deck that is playable.
So before we go forward, just so you know, Sizer in 30 games had a 76% win rate with Thanos today. After the buff.
Okay.
So
maybe we need to go to a 6/11.
Yeah. Here?
I don't know. I don't know if this is just my brain, but I feel like part of the reason this was changed is because they saw how Agamotto was cool and felt awesome at 5/13, and they were like, maybe we should make the other card that does the Thanos thing like also feel pretty good to play if you get the combo card. Because like playing a 5/12 is a Gamora. That's awesome. That's great. It feels great to play, and it also makes it so, right, Hulk is a 6/12. I think we saw what happened in the movies. I think this is lore accurate, and we should keep this forever. That's my opinion.
6/22 of all the stones. Kidley?
Yeah.
I agree. I think with a lot of larger power cards, going from 6/10 to 6/12 is a bit of a deal breaker, or rather a deal maker. because 610's not that attractive. And you got to play, I think, like, whatever amount of stones to get it to be 620, because one of them doubles him, right? And
if all.
all of them to do that?
Yeah, you
all
have to play
to be
all of them.
played. And then
So
if
I
you
don't
play,
actually have Thanos, but that just sounds like
it's
that's
a
a
pain in the
hit or
ass.
miss. You might as well just play Infinite and skip a turn, put it out there. So I think that the 12 is good. It makes it more worthwhile.
I think this card is great, and I'm always happy when Thanos is good and not broken. We'll see if they broke him. I mean, like, they might have. Like,
I
much
know
like Loki. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I was about to say, I know we're
No,
also
good.
not talking about the Space Stone, but that is extra stats. We're
Talk
not
about it together. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, like, I was just talking about how, like, a 513 feels, good to play. Hey, there's the extra point. We got extra stuff in the Thanos deck. I think this is really cool.
Yeah. 513 that can't be destroyed might be a problem, though.
Yeah, maybe.
Because there is the Soul Stone.
I'm just excited. I'm excited to play some Thanos.
So I'm excited because Agamotto, Loki, and Thanos are going to be in every goddamn deck to use the new free card that Marvel Snap gave me, Gorgon.
Mm-hmm.
And just say, but thank you for coming. And do play all these stones at 2, and now I win the game automatically. Like, I fully expect Thanos to be handleable. I fully expect Loki to be handleable. I think that like with Eitri, I think they often have a plan when they release these cards where you're like, that can't be good. That looks like it's good, but when is that ever really going to be meta? And then they're like, oh yeah? You sure that's never going to be meta? Because everyone shit on Gorgon, myself included, right? Like, everyone's like, Gorgon? Who's ever going to play Gorgon? What if they buff Loki and Thanos the same month that Agamotto came out? You going to play Gorgon then? How you feeling about that free card now? Oh, suddenly I feel really good about it. I have a 2-drop slot, and they just weaken Sam Wilson a little bit. And now all of a sudden I'm looking other places, right? I don't know. I think that's really cool. I think that there's a lot of tension in the game right now. Again, they've complicated up the game a lot with these changes, and I'm all for it. There's a lot of play and counterplay right now. A lot of, like, million things to do in a turn and decisions to make, which I'm for. And, like, guess what? It'll be like this maybe for 2 months, and then they'll be like, let's release some simple things now and make that stronger. That's honestly the beauty of Marvel Snap. I'm very excited to see Thanos be meta for a while, and then I'm going to get sick of him because we'll eventually figure out how to make him too strong, or they'll release something that breaks him. And once that happens, they'll nerf him, and then something else will be too strong. And that can get expensive, which sucks, right? But, like, I'm always interested and entertained, and that makes it worth it for me.
Yeah, I mean,
I
you
concur.
bring up a really good point. Just in general, I think players just need to wrap their head around there's always going to be a best deck. If every single Marvel Snap card was a 1/1 and they printed a 1/2, that would be the best card in the game. And whatever deck it went into would be the best deck in the game. So, like, there's always going to be something that's the best. And then we have a rapid fire, like, nerfing cycle, that buffing and nerfing cycle that it fixes that.
Wolverine is a 2/3. Kier, since you were so rudely cut off last card.
I don't like destroy it.
But we killed him.
But I think this is fine. I think especially for lower collection level players, this makes it more appealing to play as something that you just throw down. I will say having a 2/3 that is all upside is not unheard of, but it is like, it's interesting to me. The scalability of Wolverine is obviously way less than something like Deadpool, but I always thought Wolverine was an auto-occlude anyway. This just seems really good to me.
Kiddly?
I think this is going to be really big for Destroy because at 2/3, I feel like the amount of times that Wolverine gets destroyed after the initial 2/3, that adds to null, I believe. And then if you decide to do like Venom on Wolverine and then potentially Zola, that 1 point can make a lot of kind of ripple effect points. And Wolverine as being so core to destroy, I think it's gonna make it quite strong.
Good take.
So I can agree and disagree a little bit with the null point. I don't think in my destroy deck I've ever worried about winning the null lane. So I don't know if that is going to make too much of a difference there. But I do think Wolverine getting an extra point of power is pretty cool. Again, what I had talked about before, it's nice whenever, as they see decks are not performing well enough, they just want to edge it up and see how close they can get it to performing, at the level of the top decks. If they don't make it the best deck, then they've done their job. So it's really cool. I like seeing buffs to decks that are just not performing at the top levels, and especially something like Destroy, like it was already mentioned, lower collection levels. Love playing Destroy. I think one of the reasons why Destroy is so cool for new players is there's so much you're doing. You feel like you have so much agency. Sometimes whenever you lose games with Destroy, you just feel like you did a lot, which is pretty cool too. So I don't know. I like seeing little buffs to Destroy, as long as they don't break Destroy and make Destroy the best, because that's always kind of annoying.
I mean, they can't break Destroy. Armor and Cosmo are cards that exist in their early
That's true.
days.
That's very true.
Like Destroy will never be the best.
Kidley, I will say that the point you made about rippling effect, that is very true. Because I didn't even consider that till you had mentioned it, though. But destroying Wolverine once, that's 1 point of power that's added. Destroying it twice, that's another point of power that was added on top of what it's already doing. So that does, each turn it's destroyed, that's going to cascade throughout the game.
And we're getting a new Destroy card.
Yeah, we are.
We'll talk about it in a few minutes. But so, overall, I'm pro this. My basic philosophy has become any card that can get an extra power that will make it and its deck be played more to a reasonable rate should have that power. Any card that could lose a power and its play rate will not be touched at all should lose a power. Wolverine should gain a power because it gaining 1 power means that it fundamentally gets to be played more. And apparently, like I said this in my OTA video, the Destroy Bros are all very, very happy. All the Destroy folks that show up at the in Infinite Conquest every season that we never see at any other time. And then a bunch of Destroy Bros apparently watched me and replied in my comments and were like, yeah, this is amazing. I was like, oh shit, they exist outside of Infinite Conquest season. I'm so happy. I'm glad you're happy, Destroy Bros. You deserve it. All right. Bruce Banner has 2 changes. He goes from 25 to 33%, and now he keeps all modifiers, which is, according to my Twitter, because I haven't played Bruce yet, leading to all sorts of weird things, where Shadow King is bringing Hulk down to 1 power.
Oh my God.
Where if he hulks out on Shuri's lab, he becomes a 24, and all sorts of insane things are all happening. And I'm not sure how much of this is intended and how much of this is funky, but Bruce Banner is now a weird freaking card. Kidley, what you got?
I don't have this one because when it came out,
Good choice.
I think the consensus among my chat was that 25% is not worth it. In order to not spend all your energy every turn, like if you unintentionally don't spend an energy, then it's nice if it hulks out. But if you were trying to really get that Hulk going, it's difficult. But now at 33%, like I think that's better. I'm not sure if I would still risk that or just play a higher power card. Because if he's just 2-1, that's not that great still.
Here.
Yeah, the ultimate conundrum with this card is that it can never be good, right? If we have a 2-12 in the game, that's a problem. That I think I would not want to want the game balanced around. Like, I think this will make the card better, and the interaction with Shadow King is absolutely insane and deranged, and I don't know if that's what they were intending. But as it stands, every day, I'm like, I hope Bruce Banner doesn't become the de facto 2, because the day that happens, I don't know, I might take a break.
I don't think Bruce will ever become the de facto 2. I don't think it's going to slot into everything, because you can't just miss energy on most decks, right? But obviously in a high evolutionary deck, that's where this would go. It would, it being 33% is the numbers on that are all drastically better. It's a lot. I think we're going to see a lot more hulking out. But I've said this before, whenever this card was first released, Bruce Banner is a net negative in general. So it feels bad on both sides. So it feels bad when you're playing against it and it hulks out and they get a 2-12. It feels bad when you're playing it and it doesn't hulk out and you don't get a 2-12. So it kind of just feels bad all around. And I don't know if that negative part of it makes up for the good part of it. I don't like this card.
I have a hope that this makes evolutionary playable, but you don't want to skip energy in other decks. So I'm willing to deal with this annoying card if evolutionary is suddenly playable.
That's true.
And
Evolutionary is
if
not
it,
playable right now.
I think it might be with this.
Maybe.
I mean, a 2/12 is pretty good for doing what the deck wants to do, right? So I think there's like a, I don't know, good chance. How many people own Bruce Banner and Thunderbolt Ross, right? Like, which are going to be required cards for that version of the build. So, like, it's going to take a while, even if it is. Like, I know, like, top creators that are just like, I skip Bruce and Ross. What are you kidding me? Fine. But, like, so maybe it'll be meta, maybe it won't. But, like, even, like, if it makes it playable, if it turns Evolutionary into a dud, or dud-ish card, a card that you play with just Abomination, or with just, whatever, one, two extra cards, to a real deck that like runs multiple cards and like actually wants the strategy, I don't know. I consider that a win. I'd consider like Bruce being decent, good enough for that. But if this starts finding its way into other homes, I think it just has to get redesigned.
Here's another point too that I don't like about Bruce Banner. It almost throws in the Hela aspect of it of like, if this card changes turn 6, I lose. If it doesn't, I win. So you're just gambling on the last turn, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, I get that. I
like,
have
how
a
do you
theory.
snap against that?
There's 3 lanes. Red Guardians. There's a ways, right? Like if Shadow
Sure.
King kills it, all of a sudden it gets way easier.
I don't think that's intended. I feel like
I
they're
would
gonna fix that.
guess that would not be intended. So my working theory about Bruce Banner, and this is like big conspiracy theory. Conspiracy Glazer's here. Hello. I stole that from Conspiracy Bill Simmons, by the way. But Conspiracy Glazer is here. Ready? Bruce Banner was them trying to release a really popular card during a really popular season. Marvel Rivals was a big crossover. Bruce Banner is the frickin' Hulk, one of the most popular Marvel characters, but making it as bad as possible to figure out how it's sold. To be like, if we just release a really popular Marvel character, but it sucks, will the name value make people get this card? And you know what they clearly found out?
It does not.
Nope. Not in this game.
People will buy characters they have no idea who they are.
Yep. Which, as they should. All right. Any final OTA thoughts? Kier?
Overall, I like this. I said before, I think the Doom 2099 change is going to be cool because I'm still going to play it in Spectrum. I think I might start playing with Loki because that's cool. Like I said, it's sort of like the Zabu-esque effect where if you get this early and you play it down, it sort of feels like a reward. And Thanos being good, I agree with Gunny. I think if Thanos is good, the game feels interesting. I would be interested to see if the Hela change does anything, though. I like taking 9 power off is not nothing. But I mean, Scar is still in the deck, so they still can discard, Death, Scar, and Infinite, and probably still win. So I don't know. I'd be interested to see what happens after this. Overall, though, I like a lot of these changes.
We need a Spectrum surprise deck that's called "You'll Never Expect from This." You'll never expect from this, right? Like I don't know what that deck is because Doom is too predictable, right? You'll never expect from this.
Right. Maybe Heimdall. Just chuck it.
Yeah, just chuck Heimdall in your Spectrum list. Perfect. Kidley, any thoughts?
I think overall my least favorite thing about this OTA is that they nerfed the entire type of Hela deck 4 different ways. I think 1 or 2 different types of ways would have been enough. 4 ways it feels bad. And then aside from that being my least favorite, my favorite is Loki. I'm so happy. I know that it's not always the most fondest type of decks, but I play Arishem with Loki, and I've had that in there since the summer through all the different changes. And people were always saying, why do you have Loki in there? And he's there still, and I'm ready.
GT? I think this is a home run. I don't know. I like all the changes. I'm not upset about any of it.
OTA Day is my favorite. Like, unless there's a broken deck that they fail to address, I always like the OTA. I'm a little worried about negative.
Who bounce?
I don't know We'll see. We'll see.
4/6 Colossus, my final take.
I can live with 4/6 Colossus. All right, Starbrand is a 3/10. We don't have to talk about Starbrand much because this card is fucking boring. Starbrand is a 3/10 ongoing. Your opponent has +3 power at each other location. Kidley, I believe you are bullied by chat into buying this.
You were there.
I was there.
Starbrand.
And then you bought Destroy variants that they then buffed. So
yeah, I used it for all of a day. I don't love it. I don't think I'll use it again. It was cool for that one day that it had the hot location, but that's about it for me.
Gear?
Yeah, this is and will always be good. 3/10 is good stats.
Fair. Wow, look at all these hot takes, Gunny.
I mean, I like it. It's a cool card. I actually was playing Nerf Herder's deck with it, with Enchantress, Zero, that kind of stuff. Pretty good. Obviously, one of the things that really went off with this is Sauron. Sauron's great with this card.
So I thought I was gonna like playing the Sauron deck, but then I played the Sauron deck, and I remembered that when the Sauron deck was a meta deck, I hated playing the Sauron deck. So I'm never playing this again. Like, I gotta do weekend missions, and then I'm done. Thanks for coming, Starbrand. Have a great one. Someone in chat, I'd like to credit properly. I don't know how to say your name. Jurgi says Starbland.
Starbland.
And we can end this segment with Am I Right? And move on to actual really cool cards. It is the May cards, as promised. We got Esme Cuckoo. She is a 3/4. She's the season pass for May. On reveal, copy a card from your deck into your hand, set its cost to 3, and its power to 4. So she's a 3/4 that basically fake draws a copy of a card from your deck as a 3/4. Kier, take us away. Oh wait, I think service first.
You could correct me if I'm wrong, but this immediately just screams like a negative card to me. Like it's a way to bridge the gap if you don't grab negative. Both because there's a chance you can copy negative, but also like having a 3/4 any one of those cards, like a 3/4 Iron Man, a 3/4 Gore, a 3/4
Sage.
Right? Yeah. Like it seems pretty darn good to me. I think that this is going to be incredible in those decks. I also think about like, what is the implication now that we can copy a card from our deck? Like, is this the first card that allows us to do that? I know like Iron Lad technically, but we're adding a card. And since it's setting its cost to 3 and 4, there's a chance we could grab 2 of those, right?
Wait, what do you mean grab 2 of those?
So it says copy a card from your deck in your hand and set its cost to 3 and 4. Does the set its cost to 3 and 4 apply to the card in the deck?
No, I think it only applies to one in hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
It turns that card into a 3/4. So like if you
a little more balanced.
Yeah. Kidley?
You know, I agree with Kier. I think it's going to be really amazing in the Mr. Negative type of decks. That I was trying to rack my brain of how I would use this one, and like I would love to use it with Blob, but you never know if you're going to get something like Blob or things that are like 0 power. But Mr. Negative, I think, is where this is going to have its home. So that's exciting.
I guess it's having a home in, anything that is interested in any kind of combo synergies where you're just like digging a little bit deeper. It's basically draw card, right? So the ability to find some of those cards is really good. I think also in like a Agent Venom type deck, right? There's tons of cards you want to copy in there that you would like to be at 4 power. You don't draw Agent Venom, drop this on 3, get something cool from that. I think there's a lot of good places for this to go, but I don't know if it's like broken level, which is cool. I like when cards come out that are cool. They do cool things. They're not going to break the game.
I think it's probably broken, but it's fine. I'm willing to let this one be broken for just like I run this with Iron Man and Gore. We just say like in a regular deck, it doesn't have to be negative. Like give me a 3/4 Iron Man and Gore. Like I've got Iron Man, Gore, Mystique in my list. Okay, look, I feel like I'm probably fine. I can run Havoc, right? Like my God, if I had a 3/4 Havoc, like
there's a ton of good. Like honestly,
a million cheap cards.
A deck that has low power on their cards that you don't mind paying. Like what cards would you have low power on that you wouldn't mind paying a little bit extra just to get that 4 power tacked onto it.
I mean, but like the card could have high power because it's not deleting the original card, right? Like, let's say I get a Galacta.
Yeah.
Like, I'll fucking take a 3/4 Galacta. Are you kidding me? A 3/4 Galacta is a better card than a 4/6 Galacta.
But I was meaning, like, let's say worst case, you hit like a Kitty Pride. Hitting Kitty Pride is, well, I guess that's awful.
But
Never mind.
I have to put that Kitty Pride in my deck, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not.
But
putting
like you
Kitty
said,
Pride
Thena,
in the
right?
deck.
I don't mind paying one more for Thena if it has 4 power starting.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, you hit a Brood. Kidley?
Yeah.
I think this is going to be the season pass card for May.
Uh-huh.
I think this one could be incredibly beginner friendly for on reveal. So if you do like
True.
Tiger, Ironheart, Wolfsbane, all of those,
Yeah,
that could be really fun for the newer players who have those cards, because that was one of my favorites, and that could work, I think, for like a Tiger, a really cheap Tiger, and then you Odin
That's
that.
a great call.
So we are at 6 straight months, and it would be 8 if not for Symbiote Spider-Man being kind of a dud, of the season pass being one of the best cards in the game. And like, I just don't see that changing. I think next month Captain Carter is going to do that, and I think the month after Captain Carter does that, we are immediately going to have the same thing with Esme Cuckoo. I think this card's going to be completely incredible, one of the best cards in the game, like nearly auto include. You play this with Agamotto. What happens to a spell is going to be a big question, right? Like, you might have to change it to character. Copy a character from your deck because you can't have a spell with power.
Yeah.
But they won't answer us about that because this is just a data mine. I don't know.
Right.
Either way, this card is very cool and very distinct. Go.
Last thing I'm going to say is I can't wait to see all the meme Galactus decks with this. 3/4 Galactus coming to a game near you.
That's very exciting. Like, I feel like 3/4 is good enough that if I'm running a sort of high and low deck, I'm pretty happy to have things as a 3/4. If I'm running a million threes outside of a Surfer deck, I don't think I really want this.
And
like,
someone mentioned this. I'm not certain it's good in Surfer.
I think it's probably okay. It gives you an extra shot at drawing a Surfer if you play it late.
And that's the thing too, right? It's like drawing a card, and
Yeah.
you can still draw into the card that you're copying, right? So,
like, I mean, there's not cards I don't want to hit in Surfer, which I think is the point. Like, I'm fine hitting Hope, I'm fine hitting Surfer, I'm fine hitting Brood. If I hit a Shaw that doesn't change its base power, I just got a frickin' Shaw. Like, I hit a Galacta, I hit an Absorbing Man that's now a 3/4. Okay, I mean, it's cheaper.
Actually, now that I'm thinking about this is just an objectively better crystal in every possible way.
I mean, so is every other card.
Yeah, that's true. I'm just
this is every other card.
Just the idea that it's basically drawing a card. Like, as soon as you said that, it clicked for me. This is going to be really good.
All right. I feel like we've hit Esme enough. Ready to go on? Coming the same week as Esme, we have Surge. Surge is a 2/2 on reveal. Give the top card of your deck -1 cost and +1 power. After you play it, repeat this ability. So anytime you play the card this draws, even if it's not the next turn, the next card you draw will have -1 cost and +1 power. And I have no idea who's supposed to go first anymore. I've completely lost track. I'm so sorry.
Kidley. I think
Kidley, go for it.
Sure. So this feels like a better Fastos, in my opinion, because Fastos is either or, -1 cost or I think +1 power. But this one, I think the only downside is that if you don't like the card that it did that effect to, you kind of have to play it and play the next one in that order to keep it going. And let's say it hits somebody who's like a 6 cost and you're at 2 energy right now, then you're kind of broken with the chain of like effects. So that's the downside, but for 2/2, I would try it.
Here.
Yeah, I mean, we just spoke about the Agent Venom deck. Is this just not an auto include? And,
yeah, that's where I was thinking.
Just like
that's exactly what I was
make it
thinking.
bajillion power. Like, it's just I don't see this just slotting into like a good cards list. I am Mr. Good Cards list, if you didn't know. And I don't think that you'd put it in there unless you specifically built it for a lower curve. But like and you might know more about this than me, Glazer, but do you think this would be good in like a bounce list, something like that?
It is worth trying in literally every low curve deck. So I'd
Yeah.
play it in bounce. I might even like anything even up to surfer. I might try this in just because like your downside is just even if this gives -1 cost to something, it's playing for 1 fundamentally, right? If this gives 1 power to something, it's playing for 3. So you get a 1/3 out of it. It's not terrible. If you can get 2 out of it, now it's playing for 0 fundamentally, right? And it's a 0/4. And now like we're really sinking. Because that's ultimately how you have to think about these things, right? Like that's why power multiple lanes matter. So like you don't want to play it in like your freaking Infinite decks, right? That's silly. But your decks that are any deck that's running a low curve and wants to play a bunch of cheap cards, I see very little reason not to mess with this.
Yeah, I mean, you guys already said it. It goes in low curve decks.
This will also make your spells 1 cheaper, won't give them a power, right? We know that from Fastos. It will, which you can basically almost always play the next turn. Like, there's a lot of really cool stuff with this. Like, a 1/1 Thena seems like a completely absurd card to me. Like, there's just a lot, like, even if I don't play a Sage till the end of the game, having Sage immediately costs 2/1. A 2/1 Sage that I can do other things with is stupid.
Kitty Pride costing 0?
Yeah.
Any of the forecasts?
Yeah. Werewolf. Although I guess then you can play Werewolf and immediately drop a 1 to move it. Yeah, I'm a little bit in love with this card. Also, I lost her name. Ramona Flowers. This gives me Ramona Flowers vibes, which I'm all for.
It's a cool looking card too.
Yeah, the base art is actually kind of great. You don't always get to have that on Marvel Snap cards, but the action pose and the lightning is really cool.
Well, it's also like significantly better. I don't like the Esme Cuckoo base art at all.
Yeah.
So, like, I think that the Surge base art being so good right after the Esme Cuckoo base art is meh. Also, like, the Surge with the electricity coming out, I don't know, this is really cool. This is good to see.
Yeah.
Final Surge thoughts? Or actually, we can have Final Surge thoughts over here because Surge comes with Hope Summers, Emperor Hulkling, and obviously a Surge variant. What do we think of these 3 cards? And in addition to talking about the cards, their variants.
I'm not really in love with the variants. I mean, they all kind of have a light theme to them, which is pretty cool. One thing I do like, though, is I think Surge goes in Hope Summers decks, so it's very nice when things like that line up. Emperor Hulkling is just Emperor Hulkling. I don't like the card, so.
And being in the opposite camp, I actually love Emperor Hulkling, and I think this variant is very cool. So I might just open this for the Emperor Hulkling variant by itself.
I can't get past the face of Emperor Hulkling in this image. It looks too familiar to current things. And now that I've said it, you'll never unsee it.
You ruined it for me. How dare you?
I really liked this variant before that.
I liked the lightning sword, and then you just had to come in and just completely decimate my hopes and dreams. In all seriousness, though, this spotlight, you're hoping not to get Hulkling. I enjoy the card, but I wouldn't recommend it for most decks. But the other 2 cards in here are synergistic and can go in a lot of other things too. So yeah, this is a good spotlight.
Kidley?
I really like the Surge variant. I think it looks awesome. I like how the colors come together. She looks bright and refreshing. Hope Summers, I'm neither here nor there about. I don't think I would spring for that variant. Emperor Hulkling,
It's ruined.
I don't like it. It's the hair piece.
I ruined it for everyone listening to this.
I saw it,
and you're gonna ruin it for
it was up there, and I was like, "Ooh, I don't know if I should say it." Separately, his font looks like I don't know if they still have it on Microsoft Word, but they have like word art from like the 90s word art.
Yes.
That's what the font for Emperor Hulkling looks like. I don't know. I don't like it.
Yeah, I can see that. All right. You know the ginger from Stranger Things, whose name I should know?
Right, yeah, that one.
That's Hope Summers. That's they were like, that's their reference art. I'm convinced.
I should know who that is. They're in Dead by Daylight. Anyway.
I also don't know what that is, but that's fine. So yeah, that feels like the base art here. I don't like this Hope. There's a lot of Hopes I like. I don't like this Hope. Hope is still a card you should own if you don't own it. Emperor Hulkling's a card you should not own, and I was gonna spring for this variant because I really do like the rest of the design, but now that's fucked. I would like this Surge, but it's got rogue hair.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why, but like I like rogue hair on Rogue. But like every other character having rogue hair bothers me, and I don't understand why. Like, it just feels derivative, and like this is yet another mutant character, and I don't know, I prefer not. But like outside of that, I really like the variant. It's probably going to make me skip it. I'd assume there's just another variant coming out for this.
Also, the base art's just so good. Like, I don't know if I would want to spring for.
Well, I have a variant for every card that has a variant, so
that's true.
Base art. Gross. I got the new Fastos literally because I didn't like the other Fastos variant I had, and I was like, ugh, we're not doing that. Prodigy is a 3/4 on reveal. If this is in the back row, copy the text of the card in front of it. Again, I don't remember.
It's Kier's turn because I jumped in.
I'm gonna finish reading it and then you tell me who's next. Because the second I finish reading it, I start thinking about the card and then I'm like, I'm supposed to call on someone. Oh no, what do I do?
All right, Kier, what do you think about Prodigy?
Okay, so if you don't know this about me, I actually got into comics with the Young Avengers. So seeing Prodigy here is, first of all, super awesome. I'm gonna get this card no matter what. But it's super flavorful if you know about what Prodigy's powers are.
Mm-hmm.
He can telepathically sort of like gain your skills. He doesn't gain your powers or anything, just the knowledge that you have on certain things. So the fact that he literally sits behind a card and gains their skills is so cool to me. This is like one of those flavorful cards I could think of in the past like couple of months. I think it fits the character so well. And I also think that this is just going to go in a ton of decks. Like we were just talking about how like Esme Cuckoo, you're not mad about a 3/4 getting a copy of something in your deck. This is a 3/4 anything all the time, and you have way more control over what it's copying. So I would imagine this card is going to be awesome. I'm super excited for it.
Kidley?
I'm also really excited. I think this is a novel gameplay of having something in the back row and something in front of it. I think it also opens up to like having something next to a card, having something in front of a card. I'm excited for this type of strategy. I also think that this one also could be really beginner friendly because if it's on reveal, just copy something. You stick that in so many different types of decks on so many different like beginner cards, and it could just work.
Penny?
All right, don't take this as a knock to either of you, but this card is going to be terrible.
Oh, disagree.
I think it's going to be awful. So the reason why I think it's going to be awful is you don't want to play it on turn 3. Because like, what are you copying for 2?
Well, that
sure,
you can get in the front row. It would have to be the third card in the lane.
Right? So it has to be played late, and you're hoping that nothing screws up what you did beforehand. You didn't need to play there beforehand. Like the board needs to be set up. You need to draw the correct cards for the right setup. So I just think it's gonna be too finicky, and it's not gonna play the way you want it to. I think the card's gonna be bad.
I think Mystique as a 3/4 is probably pretty good.
Sure.
Because everything you said is true of Mystique, right? Like, what if you have to play another card in between? What if you don't have the right spacing or the right spot? Like, yeah, that's all true for Mystique too.
Mystique can be played anywhere though, right? Like, it's so much more flexible. Sure. You can flex Mystique. You can't flex Prodigy. Prodigy has to go in very specific spots. The way I do think it could work is in a nice ongoing deck where you don't mind copying like several different things, so your options are open. But it's going to be a lot more limited than I think. Looking at this card,
you're
people
trying
are going to think
Iron
it is.
Man. You're trying to copy Iron Man. You're trying to copy Iron Man. You're trying to copy you're fine copying a speed. You can play it behind a Moonstone, which is just freaking hilarious. Like any play behind a Super Skrull, you play it an ongoing. Like it's an ongoing card. Like it says on reveal, like Mystique, but it's an ongoing card. And in an ongoing deck, you're kind of happy hitting everything. And then once it copies the text of a card, we know it becomes that card. So it's now hit by Onyx Spectrum, which we're back to.
I'll eat my words if it's good. But I think this card's going to be bad.
I think that Ongoing is going to spend most of April and May being the most busted strategy in Marvel Snap.
Sure.
And I think this is going to be a key in that.
What do you got, Kerr?
So, if you know me, I'm a terrible player and make terrible decks. I think, as Mr. Good Cards, I think that legitimately, if you just put like a Jeff in your deck, you have way more control over where you're playing this card. And I think that problem that you were talking about, where it's like, okay, what spacing are you going to have to get in order to make this work? If you just have Jeff, or you have like a Nightcrawler, right, you can fill a space. This copies the card that you want to copy. And that could be a million things. Or you
Sure.
could even just copy the Jeff and have a 3/4 Jeff, which is not bad, right? Nocturne is a card that exists. So for me, I completely understand your reasoning. I can understand that this card might not blow the win rate out of the water, but as a good card, I think it's a good card. I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, one of the things I think also may affect it is like your turn 6 play. Like a play that would be awesome if you could do it would be like Sage and this copying Sage, but the cards won't line up, right? It's gonna be odd.
You've
Definitely
got to
has
copy
potential.
an earlier play. You've got to copy an earlier play with it, right? Like
Yeah.
you're trying to copy your turn 3 or 4 play. So the question is going to be, is there a turn 3 or 4 play you want to copy on turn 4, 5, or 6?
And it has to
And,
be, if you're playing this as your third card, that has to be the first card you played into the lane.
Mhm.
That's where, again, I can
So you know
certainly, I will
You
eat
know
my
what card
words if
this
it's good.
screams? You know what I might want to be doing with this? I might want to be hitting Galacta. I think I've got a reasonable, like Galacta's almost always the first card in the lane, right?
Okay.
Like if Galacta loves that like mini movers stuff, your Jeffs, your Rocket and Groots, whatever else. So you should be able to get the right card, and then you can drop Prodigy and have a second Galacta. And second Galacta is game-winningly strong.
So what are you doing there? Are you playing like Galacta turn 4, moving something into the Galacta lane to then play Prodigy on turn 5?
Prodigy into 2 on turn 5, and that 2 is now +6.
Okay.
That seems like it's reasonably strong to me. Like even if I'm playing a Kate at that point, like
I'd rather just turn 2 other cards into Galacta with my.
You can't play 2 other cards into Galacta. You can only play 1 other card
I'm
into Galacta.
talking
That's
about
what her
playing
text
Agamotto.
says. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yes, Agamotto is insanely strong. I'm assuming by May, Agamotto is going to be either nerfed or we will have different strategies. All right, let's move on to Prod's variants. Prodigy comes with a Silver Sable, who is a card that just had a lot of its value sucked out of the meta. It comes with let me say why. Because Silver Sable can hit a spell and stay a 1/0. It can hit.
Happened.
We also have Frigga, who is Frigga, and it has the Prodigy variants and cards, which I believe is Kiddly now. Am I making that up? I don't know anymore. Gunny, who's next?
Kiddly is up first for this.
He didn't know. He guessed.
I don't think I would go for these. I think they're pretty. They have a nice pastel feel, but at the same time, because they're a bit lower contrast for me, it's not as flashy, and I want something that really pops on the board. Also, Frigga's face looks a little strange, but they're pretty. They look like they're pastels.
Yeah. Kier?
Yeah, I like thematically how like you could compare Frigga and Prodigy, right? They do different things, obviously, but they're both 3/4s that give you a copy of a card that you like.
Oh my
which
god.
I think is pretty cool.
Prodigy in a move deck seems really good.
Oh, you mean to copy like
Either the mover or the payoff, right?
Yeah, well, and like I said, I like the idea of putting Jeff in your deck because it makes the spacing a lot easier to work with. So if you're already using a move deck, I'm assuming you'd have a lot more control anyway.
Yeah, but like you play Madam Web and then you play like a freaking, I don't know, Vulture on Madam Web, right? Like, and then you move, like, you're going to want to move that Vulture, but like you can move that Vulture and you can, I don't know, Ghost Spider it back, and then you can play Prodigy. And now Prodigy is also Vulture.
Sure. So chat did bring up something they thought it'd be good in a discard deck, Prodigy, because you are playing early things that you want to copy. So I could see I think chat made a really good call out there for it being in discard. For my takes on the art here, I'm not meaning any shade towards the artist of this at all, but these are great pieces of art for like a high school art project.
I think these are very ugly. I also have a really good Frigga and two really good Sables.
If I saw this on the wall at a arts or a high school art show, I would be, I think they would look really good for that artist.
I also want to shout out Prodigy was in, I believe it was Young Avengers, one of my favorite Marvel comics ever, and I love that card. Prodigy was also in really, really cool in the recent Krakoa era X-Men stuff. So like this is a phenomenal character.
I love him. Yeah.
This is such an ugly Frigga. What is that? Like, what is her pose?
High school art project.
But no, like humans don't stand like that, right?
They do when you're in high school.
It almost reminds me of like a Renaissance era painting. You know what I mean? Like maybe, like no, not Renaissance, medieval, like a medieval painting where you're like, is that human? Maybe if I squint.
She also has two skirts.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until you pointed it out.
I'm like, what is happening with this? This is such a weird card. Sable looks cool-ish. I don't know. I have two good Sables. I ain't blowing stuff on this. Any final thoughts on these cards? We're good?
No.
Let's next. All right. Elixir is a 1/1. The next time one of your cards is destroyed this turn, revive it here. This is an activate, so you don't have to do it immediately. And it is worth knowing that things like Deadpool and never end up working with this kind of ability. Like your Deadpools, your Wolverines, things that aren't like actually destroyed don't end up working here. What do we think of Elixir? Gunny, you're supposed to say
Kidley, you can go ahead and start with this one because Kier started with the last spotlight.
I think it's exciting. It feels like Shang Insurance. If you put that on the board, and let's say someone doesn't end up red gardening it, I think if you don't have priority on turn 6 and somebody kills one of your big cards, you can bring it back then. And it feels like Shang Insurance. I don't see why you wouldn't play it. I guess it takes up a spot, but it seems good.
What do you think here?
So Misery is a card. And so because Misery is a card, you play this in a Misery deck, and then you just get a bunch of on reveals, and then you kind of win, I think is the idea. I do like the idea of Shang Insurance, though. I think that's a really unique take. Armor is 1 cost extra and would save you a bunch of hassle, but the advantage of Elixir is it's so cheap. So yeah, I think that's a really cool call. But I would imagine that you just play like Hood, and then you play Misery, and then you do this, and then you like play Carnage or something, or I don't know. You can do a million things. I think that this is going to open a lot of play lines and be very good.
I think this could find home in some kind of destroy shell. I know obviously it doesn't work with Deadpool, but think about like if you destroy a Venom late to get an extra Venom activation. That'd be a really cool thing to do. I don't know. I think it has some definitely great places. Nimrod could be cool with this card. Like I don't know. Mm-hmm. Seems like it's fun. It's fun. Nice little 1/1. It's gonna. I think it'll find some homes.
Nah, it's a 1/1. This is gonna suck.
Yeah.
I think that Marvel Snap is always wants a 1-drop in the Series 5 slot. That just kind of sucks for you to go get. It's your booby prize. It's your Howard the Duck Memorial 1-drop. Place taken by Celine, place taken by Elixir, whatever. There's just got to be one drop that you're just like, oh, I guess I got that now. I think it was Bruce for a little while, and then they buffed Bruce, right? I know Bruce doesn't cost 1, but like you get the idea. I don't know. I just maybe in a Misery deck, like
Misery is a great call.
Maybe as Shang protection. Then we're gonna look at another destroy card that this could work reasonably well with. The word here worries me. Like if it was revive it where it was, I'd like it a lot better. Like because I could Zola if it were where it was, and I can't Zola with it as it is. The here is very, very concerning to me. Because like that's really, really telegraphing where I'm gonna play my big shit and do a lot. So I don't like it. spotlights. We have
Interesting.
Ugly Shem. Ugly Shem, Malekith, and Elixir. What we got for these variants and these cards? Gunny, you're supposed to remember
You
to
can
say
start with this one, Kier. No, I'm sorry. You're right. Kier, what do you think?
Okay, so first of all, Arishem and Malekith's variants are terrible, and I don't want to see them ever in the game.
I'm trying to figure what's happening to Arishem.
Like, I nothing against them, I guess.
Did he just get rusty? Did he rust?
I don't know. It looks like the Statue of Liberty.
Looks
maybe
like Iron Giant.
Oh, okay, I could see that too. Yeah, I don't know.
Iron Giant's not ugly. Watch your filthy mouth.
Like, this spotlight is cool. I really like this spotlight. Thematically, they don't have too much to do with each other, but the cards themselves are good. And I really like the Elixir variant. I think it looks awesome. I imagine when you split it, those little light effects are going to pop out of the card. It's going to be awesome. But as for the rest of the variants in here, I would rate this a 3 out of 10. I'm not a huge fan.
Kidley, what do you think?
Kidley?
I love the first two. So Arishem, he, as you guys said, looks like the Iron Giant. That movie makes me cry. I definitely want that Arishem because it just looks so... He looks nice. I know he's not nice, but he looks nice in that one. You kind of just want to give him a hug. Or at least I do. Elixir, I love that. He comes with his own Kirby. I like it. I want that one, and I want to split it a bunch. Malekith, I'm good on that one. He looks scary. I don't like him.
Malekith looks like a World of Warcraft character or something from Hearthstone.
I was about to say Hearthstone. Yeah, it's very Hearthstone-esque.
I don't like it. We're not playing Hearthstone. I actually kind of like the Arishem. It looks cool. Not something I would chase, but I think it's decent. And then I think we've already talked about Elixir. I think that card's gonna split really well.
Mm.
To quote Colonel Forbin, Second Dinner thinks Elixir is weak when it's packaged with Arishem and Malekith.
Mm-hmm.
So, I love this Elixir variant. I think it's really, really, really cool. But I have a Dan Hip Arishem that makes all my other cards Dan Hip variants.
Oh yeah.
And as long as that exists, I don't need another Arishem until the end of time. And I've got two other great Malekith variants, and this one is terrible. Are we really going to pretend that what is happening? I don't know. What is his face? He's smiling at he's smirking, but his lips are closed on one side. This doesn't make sense.
It's a Two-Face thing.
What are we doing? But that's not what the character is. He's not Two-Face.
I get that, but
he has one face.
He's split in half, though, right?
That's but that's not what that's not his thing.
In this picture, it is.
Sure, but that's not the character. Someone started drawing Two-Face the character and was like, oh shit, I'm supposed to draw Malekith? And was like, all right, here we go. I don't know. Whatever. I want this Elixir and I'm probably not going to get it. So, but either way, if you don't own Arishem Malekith, you should probably open this week. Those are good cards to own.
Yeah.
Sexy Daddy Zorn. Oh, come on. He's got bondage gear, Zorn, whatever.
Look, let's preface that these are, really awesome base arts, but
these are the opinions of the host that do not reflect on the guest. Look at him. All right, whatever.
I know, I get it.
I think it's great. What's wrong with seeing some nice? That's right. What's wrong with seeing some nice abs?
Hey, someone's got to be innocent. Look, it's the Gimp. It's fine. Zorn is a 2/3. After any 3 or 4 cost card is played here, move it to another location. Oh, can I explain the why this card has this power thing?
Yeah.
So in the original new X-Men run, and this is major spoilers for a comic that came out in 2001, but Zorn is Magneto.
Yeah.
He eventually becomes a real character, and Magneto pulls 3 and 4 cost cards. Zorn pushes away 3 and 4 cost cards. Get it? Except Magneto's good and Zorn's not. I don't know who's first. Gunny?
Kidley's first for talking about the spotlight. I'm failing at this job completely, by the way.
You're really, really bad at this, yes.
Sorry, I'm reading chat.
Well, I like him more now that I know that he's Magneto or Magneto-ish. I don't know. It's kind of like that location, the asteroid location, or what is it, Spider Island location, where you move something away.
Yeah.
So I guess if you have that and Spider Island still exists, or the asteroid M still exists, you could have something really bing-bonging across the board. And I guess that's good.
What are the
I don't know.
cards that you want to move? Obviously, Vulture would be good, but I don't know if this fits in a move deck because you have a lot of lower cost cards, and playing with only one of them isn't the reason to play this. So what are the other 3 and 4 cost cards that we want to move?
I think it's only Vulture, right?
Right? So if that's, I mean, all right, Red Wing. Someone mentioned Red Wing's a good one.
Oh, yeah.
But if it's 2 cards, is that enough to play this?
You know what costs 2?
I mean, a lot of
Madam
things.
Web. So if I want to play 3s that I want to move, I feel like Madam Web probably does that job for me pretty damn well.
Yeah, is this the part where we give the disclaimer that cards might change before they come out?
This has to come out as it is.
I
It's
understand
so
the flavor.
thematically good.
I know the flavor is cool, but like the problem that I see with this card is even trying to think of like a sneaky play where you like use it on turn 6 because you know that your opponent has like a crossbones or something, and you like play it down. Well, then you also need priority, and it's like if you play this down early, there's a good chance it could help your opponent too. Like, I don't know. Part of me wonders if they're going to buff the stats on this so that it's like more interesting as like a deterrent card. Like, I don't know. I don't see the light with this card.
It's inside the helmet. That's what it's blocking, because his head is the sun.
Yeah.
I don't see
know
it.
what the fuck to
Someone
say
will
about this
figure
card.
it out, but I'm not certain if it's good enough.
I don't think so.
By someone will figure out, I mean someone will figure out the deck for it. There will be a deck. I don't know if it's going to be a good deck, but
any final Soren thoughts? Kidley,
Like,
did you talk enough about Soren? Do you have any other thoughts? Yeah, we're good. Let's talk about. Oh, sorry.
Goose, kind of. I don't know. I just want to throw it out there. It's kind of like a goose sort of effect where you're gonna block some bigger cards, but then it doesn't block 5 or 6 costs. So anyway,
or 1 or 2 costs.
Yeah,
it's only a 2/3.
I know.
They're telling us to play it with Scream.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Because it comes with Scream and Ajax. What is with the spotlight art this month? We'll get there. All right. I don't know who's first. Gunny, pretend you do.
Kier can talk about the spotlight variants first.
And their use.
I think the Zorn one is awesome. It's gonna split great, I would imagine. Scream, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if this is a hot take. I don't think there's a lot of ways you can draw a symbiote to make them look cool than they already are. Like, I look at my Venom collection and I'm like, these are all the same card. But I'm not cultured in the ways of different artists in the way that a lot of other people are. So the only one that I think is weird here is the Ajax one. Like, what the hell is going on? He almost looks like an action figure of Ajax that you'd find at like Toys R Us.
I'll save it. Here, Kidley?
Yeah, Ajax looks like somebody from Toy Story.
Yeah.
He's okay, but Scream is okay. I wish the background was a bit more interesting because she's already kind of pushed back, and the background's kind of, to me, a little bit like just okay. Zorn, I think, is the winner out of the 3, like in the coolness variant metal, but I don't know. Maybe they had to make Zorn look really cool because nobody would really go for him as much.
That's fair. Like, this one doesn't look as bondagey.
Great call out.
I don't really got anything to add. I think Zorn looks great, and the other 2 do not. I mean,
There's something wrong
about
with Ajax's face.
Talking about packages, though, I do like that this package, like Zorn says, it can work with Scream. Scream can work with Ajax. Like, it seems like I like it whenever they pair things up with things that at least somewhat work together thematically.
In chat, Cable's admitted he's into bondage characters. In the meantime, though, Ajax and Scream are cards. Like I said last week or week as a week you should open if you don't have all the cards. This week is also one of those where it's just like, yeah, you should own Scream and Ajax, y'all. Like these Scream is a deck, Ajax is a deck. You should own these cards that give you decks. Like putting them in spotlights together is really, really cool and gives optionality. It also, again, we're gonna call this the Forbin corollary. Is that the right way to phrase that? Carly? I don't know. Whatever. The Forbin idea. I'm going to skip big words now because I'm stupid. But is they will give us the best cards with the worst card, with the worst new card. So, like, we've got the Ajax and we got the Scream. And so, like, if you don't want Zorn, but don't you want Ajax and Scream? And you go, yeah. And then you just sort of get stuck with Zorn in the process. We got more cards because I'm pretty sure, have Sanctum returning because they just have like 4 extra cards. And unless it's a brand new mode, it's either a brand new mode or they're bringing back Sanctum because we got like 4 cards that are just coming as Series 4 cards. Starting with Kid Omega, who is also our thumbnail because he looks unbelievably freaking cool. This is
super
base
cool
art. I've
been playing a lot of Cyberpunk 2077 and it's really giving some Cyberpunk vibes. Love it.
Yeah, I know. I can tell because every time I check your Discord name, I'm like, oh, look at that. You're not playing 30-year-old JRPGs like I am. Suikoden remasters, friends. All right, activate. Destroy the next card you play this turn to gain its power. This is the destroy card I've been alluding to all episode. Holy, like, the Wolverine buff matters for this, right? Like, a million cards matter for this. This matters with Elixir.
This card's so cool.
Activate. Destroy the next card you play this turn to gain its power. So, like, you can play, like, 2 cards, and then the third card, activate, destroy it. Chef's kiss. All right, I have no idea who's first. Gunny, pretend you know.
Like, here's going to be talking about our
I like first. That Gunny looks back and forth. You can literally see him look back and forth whenever I tell him to do that as he goes, oh God, I'm guessing. I hope no one knows I'm guessing.
I'm not guessing. It's Kier's turn to talk about the spotlight.
So, to be clear, I am so glad that they added this turn to this card. If they did, if this was just activate, destroy the next card you play, it would go in a million decks. This is really cool, though. I like that destroy is getting another piece that feels exciting to play. I would be interested to see, like, does this go in a Phoenix Force deck? Does anybody play that deck? Is it good there?
It 1000% goes in Phoenix Force because you can play it on 2, trigger it on 3, right? Like, that's fine. Or trigger it like even on 4 and then play Phoenix Force. I guess you couldn't play it trigger it on 4, play Phoenix Force. You would have to destroy something first. You can trigger it on 5 though. And you can trigger it with like, you can immediately play Torch and destroy it or whatever. Immediately destroy it. Yeah, a lot of shit. Card is good.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, this card is going to be great. And you guys already pointed out the base art is incredible. Whatever way we're getting this card, I think you should get it. There's just so many possibilities. I think it's going to be really great.
Kidley?
This card is gorgeous. It's so pretty. The colors all come together. I like the little flashes that go outside of the border. It's really pretty. Separately, I think it's extremely versatile. I like that it's activate, and I also like that it's destroy the next card you play no matter where it is. Doesn't have to be the same lane, doesn't have to be really anything. So that could be just a really good card for so many different things, not just destroy. But I'm excited for that one. And it's only 2/2. Like, it's cheap. Yeah, I like it.
This card is sweet. What is the best card in the destroy deck, in your opinion? I know what I'm thinking. I'm just hoping you're agreeing with me.
Venom.
You said it. I don't. Do you two agree?
Yeah,
Venom is good.
I'd say Venom.
Right?
Yeah.
So really I think this card gives real Venom vibes. Like, the power of Venom is the fact that it collects all the power that you've played beforehand. So there's so many great synergies you can do with this. I mean, heck, even playing on turn 6 or turn 5, playing out a death to destroy it, to proc your null even higher, but then collecting that power, not losing it, it's just really good. Because that power's not going anywhere. You're not losing anything by destroying that card.
So
And then on top of that, being another activator for Deadpool, like,
I mean,
super good.
it's also like almost a Sauron card, right? You drop a Starbrand on it.
Oh,
you drop a Typhoid Mary on it.
Oh, that's a great call. Yeah.
Just like you're like, all right, fuck that negative effect.
Anything,
you drop
anything
a
with
Red Skull.
Anything with like a negative effect
Just
that
not
you don't
on it,
want.
but after. Yeah. Also, can I conspiracy Glazer again?
Sure.
So the like broiest, edgelordiest thing is symbiotes. They were like the extreme thing of the 90s. And like they made the pinkest fucking character be the new Destroy card. They weren't just like, we're gonna make this like not broy, right? Like Kid Omega is like a mock jokey edgelord. That's his character in the comics. He's a character that's like made fun of for being so teenage stupid edgelord. So he goes in Destroy as a Destroy bro with all the fucking symbiotes. If that was an accident, it's the best accident ever. It's the most perfect accident that's ever happened. But if that's on purpose, I would like to give that person a raise.
Also, shout out because Elixir synergy.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Again,
really good.
that's why the Elixirs here bothers me. Because like now I feel like I want all three of these in different lanes and it gets funky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess that's true.
Oh, you could play. Yeah, it gets iffy. This card is so cool. They can't believe they're giving this to us for free.
It's good.
Like they're charging us. They're charging us for Bondage Daddy, but Kid Omega is free. Hellion is a 5/8. On reveal, next turn you can move cards to this location. So 5/8, one-sided cloak. Gunny.
Kidley's first.
Yeah, you're right that time. I kept track.
I think it's too expensive to be cloak, but at the same time, if you're just doing like a standard move deck and you've already done cloak, now this is turn 5. On turn 6, you can move and then Heimdall out, maybe, but I think it's too expensive to do just the cloak maneuver, in my opinion.
What about you, Kier?
So there's a couple of things to talk about with this card that I really, really like. The Heimdall synergy is extremely cool. Now, is it going to be telegraphed? Probably. It's going to be, really, really obvious what you're doing, but the power is there. I mean, if you can move everything to the right lane that you want and then shift everything to the left, that's really powerful. What I also like about this card is it might just be good enough to play in a good cards list. I am Mr. Good Cards. And what I'm envisioning right now is that you're playing New York, the location, where you're telling your opponent, hey, do you want to guess which cards I'm moving into this lane at the end of the game? You'll never know. And the truth is you won't know. His base stats are also pretty good at 5/8. I mean, it's kind of like Vision. You're not mad about playing that. So I think that this card is going to have a couple of places. I don't suspect it's going to like blow anything out of the water, but it's going to add a lot more mind games. So I'm all for it.
Text and chat beat me to it, but here's the thing that I want to say about it. How many lanes do you need to win in Snap? It's only 2 lanes, right? So how often have you been playing and you just realize...
you play Galactus? One, bro.
Yeah, sure. But how many times have you been playing and then you're like contesting for a lane, your opponent just does some whack stuff there and you're like, all right, I am not going to win this lane. Turn 5, you're like, well, the other lane that I wasn't going to win, now I'm winning that one instead. And now your opponent has put so much effort into this lane, you're like, screw it, I don't need that lane anymore.
It's like Cannonball and Legion, right? Like that this general cost with this type utility effect ends up being good. But I don't have to like figure out if this is good. This got data mined. I sent this screenshot to Sizer and he said, "Oh my god!" And then I was like, "Oh, well, this is fucking good then. Cool. Thanks for the heads up." I don't know if this is a healthy design because I don't know if people remember this, but the Space Stone originally let you move a card away from it, and that was too good. And this has a lot of that similar feeling to me. I could easily see this being just too good, but I think that it is definitely at least good. And
I think this sounds
also
like Legion
really
level.
cool looking. Yeah, this feels Legion Cannibal, like the general 5/7, 5/8 thing.
Yeah,
where it's a really good utility card in those mid-rangey metas. Is it gonna do a thing into like a giant combo meta? No, but like if Hella was good again, right? Like Hella's like, what? I don't care where you put your fucking power. Have fun. But if you're deciding where to put like a Galacta card, right? Like you play Galacta, then you play this. This is an 11, and then like, are you moving Galacta? Are you like, where's that extra power going for the next turn? Is a real thing. I
Go
like
ahead,
it.
Kidley.
But I don't know. Maybe I'm just a hater, but why wouldn't you just play Cloak later and then use another 3 cost?
Because Cloak lets your opponent do it too.
Hmm.
Like I don't. So the problem with Cloak outside of Heimdall decks, very often, at least for me, and like is now I'm like I spend my entire turn going, what are they gonna move? And like I'm just like, how much do I need to commit here? Do I need to move everything there because they're gonna move everything? It's Cloak turns the game into New York.
Yeah.
And like New York, like you spend the like forever just being like, oh my god, do I do this? Do I do that? What do I do? So yeah, it's rough. So yeah, I'm pro Hellion. I'm also pro Cloak. I think like it's reasonably likely, at least in move decks, that you run both. But yeah, we good? Next card, because we still have like 2 more, I think. Oh no, 1 more. This is the last one, I believe. Which again, 3 for Sanctum, right? Like I'm pretty sure Sanctum's coming back, y'all. I have no inside information. This just feels right. Mercury, is a 2/2. You can move this once. Ongoing. Enemy cards here can't move. Here? Oh wait, I have no idea if it's Kier. Is it Kier? Is it Kier? Gunny, is it Kier?
It is.
Gunny, is it Kier? Is it Kier, Gunny? Gunny.
It's Kidley.
Don't get it wrong. It's Kidley. Oh, sorry, Kier.
Me? Well, I think
I have no
for
idea.
it seems like that season will have a lot of moving decks, and this one seems like a good option to have. It's cohesive with the other cards that they're dropping. But I don't know. I think just one Enchantress kind of figures it out for that one. I think it's cool. I like that it's also 2/2, so I like that we're getting a lot of lower curve options. But it's a good counter to Madam Web.
What about you, Kier?
Okay, so do not give me credit for this. I stole this from another podcast. I think it might have been Marvel Yap. Tucker and Not My Dance brought up the idea that you could use this with Cannonball and you just get a free destroy, which is pretty cool. And the other utility of this card is nice too. It's a worse Jeff, right? There's no denying that. But assuming that you're building your deck to have Cannonball, Juggernaut, those sort of cards at the end of the game, this is neat. I like it. And more release valves for the game is always good. I don't know. It doesn't matter how good move is, seemingly. Most of the player base is just not interested in doing it. I can imagine this being a pretty unique tech card, though, if move bounce ever gets out of control.
I mean, it is kind of out of control in Higher Infinite.
Not anymore.
Okay. What does Sizer think about this card?
I don't think he really wants to talk about it. He'd prefer this just to be a ship in the night. Like, yeah, I don't know.
So here, this card it's a tech card, right? So it's whenever a certain deck gets out of hand, you can play this. And also, what I think Second Dinner likes to do is I think they like to have cards like this in the game as a way to throw up their hands and be like, "Hey, this deck's not that good. Just play Mercury. Why aren't you doing that?" They do it with Shadow King. They do it with, Mobius. Like, the problem that we're kind of getting into, though, is we reach this point where we've got to figure out like what tech cards are good. If you have this teched into your deck and you're not playing against anybody who wants to move their cards, it's a 2/2 that really doesn't do a whole lot. You can move it once, which is actually, I think, pretty key to this card being at least decent. Because if it didn't have that move clause on it, then I think that it wouldn't be good at all. And the move clause is also really good because then you could play it on turn 2. If you're playing against a move opponent that plays like a Madam Web, like you was already mentioned, you can then move it to that lane. So that's pretty cool tech as well.
Yeah. Not mad at a tech with a little bit of extra utility. Right, like it's a tech that can occasionally win a Sanctum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, is it the best card ever? No. But like it's got its use. I wish there were a variant for it. They never release variants for these like
Yeah, that's
special
true.
event cards, and this one's super ugly. But yeah. Any final Mercury thoughts? Or are we on to variant of the week?
Variant of the week.
We're not. Oh, wait, it's Fanfei here. Shut up, Fanfei. We're not talking about Fanfei. That's not going to come out this month. All right. Variant of the week is Wolverine, because Wolverine got buffed. Look, copying it from the website even counted the buff twice, and then the third time the buff was like, no. Let us begin with the one that two of us chose, Wolverine in the Rain. Kier, why'd you pick that one?
I am a sucker for good animations, and
Mm.
this is the reason that I have the noir version of Howard the Duck, because the snow
Mhm.
is falling in the background. Having the rain constantly battering down on Wolverine is so badass. I can't get over it. I also love the fact that this is a very classic Wolverine pose. He's made this pose on hundreds of different comic covers. So it's very iconic to me. I love it.
Yeah. This is the Wolverine costume of my youth. When I was so when I was very, very young, I'm gonna personal lore time. We did it before the podcast started recording. Personal lore time. When Wolverine was one of my first favorite characters, and I was like 5 or 6 years old. I was being babysat, and we watched A Nightmare on Elm Street. And I was 5 or 6 years old, and that was
Wow.
way the fuck too young to watch Nightmare on Elm Street. And then a different friend convinced me to watch another one, and then I just stopped sleeping. Wolverine in this costume, looking fairly similar to this, was how I learned to sleep again at like 7 or 8 years old. So like Wolverine
that's
is
sweet.
Yeah, Wolverine is not my favorite character anymore. I think the things that made me like Wolverine as a kid were sort of I have been lost in the character. Like what makes Wolverine such a cool character outside of like he's got claws and looks cool, right? Is I really enjoy the thematic like concept of how much is nature versus nurture, how much is he a man, how much is he a monster, and all those like conversations that are sort of fundamental to the character in much the same way um like what is crime and how does Batman deal with the idea of crime and the concept of crime while being a criminal, and everything else is fundamental to that character. And I like when stories fundamentally grapple with like the core conceits of the ideas, and Wolverine hasn't grappled with that shit in 25 years, like at all. He's just like the cool stabby dude who everyone looks up to now. And like that's so I really don't enjoy the character anymore. Like since God, honestly, like since he got his adamantium put back in, he's been very dry to me. And like the Apocalypse time, the 12 time, which was a terrible run. So like I don't know. I don't love Wolverine very much, but this type of Wolverine will always have a special nostalgia to me. I will look at this Wolverine art. Like I'm pretty sure the second one we're going to talk about, the picture he's actually looking at is back when he was cool in the rain. Who picked the picture, Wolverine?
I sure did. All right, I'm going to change your mind on this. I picked this for one reason and one reason only, for the pure number of memes we get out of this card.
No, it's not out of this card. The memes predate the card. They made the card out of the meme.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying though. Like it's just meme value. I love it. I love seeing this card. The memes are always like, what is he looking at in the photo? So yeah, I love this art because of that one value. It's really
I do love that they leave it ambiguous too. I think that was a good touch.
Yeah.
That's really it. Like it has nothing to do with like the art or anything. It has to do with the meme value.
Fair enough. And Kiddly with, I don't even know how to describe it, the peach.
Yeah, so this is the Peach Momoko Nightmare variant. I love it. I think it's a gorgeous card. It also has a little bit of like body horror, but not in a way that's over the top. I think it's just a really cool take on Wolverine. It's a fun variant, and I think it's a little bit spooky.
Yeah,
it's definitely spooky.
This is in Kiddly's dreams, Freddy one.
I was about to say this also reminds me of like The Thing, from the not The Thing from Marvel, but the other The Thing, the one that like crawls around and like bursts out of people. I think that one, that reminds me of this variant.
It is a really cool piece of art. All right, those are our variants of the week. Hey, Kiernimbus, why should people follow the Infonaut podcast?
You should follow the Infonaut podcast because it's quick. All these long podcasts just droning on and on and on. I'm sure you're tired of it. I mean, you're listening to this one probably bored out of your mind. So if you're looking for a podcast that's under 25 minutes that covers everything new to the game, that's where you can find me. So that's my hard sell. Infonaut podcast, spelled NOT. not N-A-U-T.
Oh, no. My hard sell is, so you spent around 2 hours on this podcast tonight. I'm going to let my wonderful guest go soon. Would you like to hear a lot about Marvel Snap in a lot less time than my bloviating? You should follow the Infinite podcast. It is a delight. It is absolutely great, and you should 1,000% check it out. You will have a genuinely great time with a lot of real, like, it's energetic. Like, it's not just fast, it's energetic and feels really good to listen to. So give it a check out, please. Pretty please.
I
Sugar
will
and
be
spice.
checking that out because I'm a busy adult with many important things to do, and collecting all of my knowledge in one place in a concise format seems right up my wheelhouse.
And if he had listened to that podcast instead of Snap Judgments, he would have King Geetry.
Damn.
Sick burn.
Good point.
Kidley, why should people follow you?
So I stream a lot of afternoon weekdays on Twitch. I like to try to make co-working, if you're at work and have time to be on Twitch, a little bit more enjoyable. I play a lot of Marvel Snap. I also do a lot of varieties, so some days I'll be playing things like Neopets, some days I'll be playing Slay the Spire, some days it'll be things like Frog Detective, which we wrapped up recently. It was so cute. There's a lot of cute games. I really love it. Follow me on Twitch, follow me on Instagram if you want more lifestyle content, if you want to see what I'm eating, things like that. It's a good time.
Can I
Gonna have
hard
to
sell,
download
Aaron?
Instagram. Oh, all right, go.
I like to do this every once in a while. Just steal it from you. So I had the pleasure of meeting Kidley in Tampa, and I have to say, Kidley was one of the nicest people there. You know how sometimes when you're meeting a new person, you can have like that awkward kind of like conversation starter. Whenever I started talking to Kidley, she just made me feel welcome. She made me feel like a friend already, and it was really awesome. And she did it for everybody. I was, TO running around, running tournaments and whatnot, but anyone that sat down next to her, she was talking to, and it was really amazing to see. I really feel like the personality you see on her content is also the personality that she just is in real life. So it's amazing. Thank you, Kidley. You made my Tampa experience just a little bit better.
Thank you.
So that's not a unique sentiment. I've spoken to a lot of people from SnapCon, and like I'm always like, who impressed you? Who did you like the best? Who was what you thought? Like I had this conversation with Gunny. Like he'll vouch for it. Like where I was like, who did you like? Who did you not like? Who
I
felt
think I
like what they
immediately
were
told
like
you I
on
wanted
camera?
Kidley on the
Yeah.
podcast.
Uh, but like, yeah, she should be a regular. But whatever, we'll get there. We'll work on her. But like, everyone's answer was Kidley. Like it was universal. Everyone's answer was Kidley. I invited another creator on the podcast, and their answer was, "Please get Kidley." Like everyone's answer was Kidley. Like she's genuinely an impressive human being. I don't know, have a better way to say that. A thing I like to do is I like to find Marvel Snap creators who don't know who I am and hide in their chat sometimes. Because if I go into a Marvel Snap chat, I don't know, like it's not bad, right? Like I don't mind it, but sometimes it gets a little overwhelming. And so I hid in KiddilyChan's chat for 3 weeks, and just had a great time. Like I genuinely, like when I was just like Marvel Snap fan watching someone cool play the game and having a good time, she's who I chose to hang out with. Like I genuinely think she's one of the very, very, very best the community has to offer. And if you're not following her, you absolutely should. I need to do more variety content. Marvel Snap is like an all-consuming obsession in my freaking life. So if I need to like find time to do the variety content. But like I'll get on, see you playing another game, and be like, and then it'll be like Snap, and I'll be like, click over. It's like, and it's a wonderful, warm place. And I will eventually determine whether you bully chat or a chat bullies you more.
Thank you both of you. Your kind words really make my day.
Absolutely. All right. Certain tiers of support on our Patreon come with honor. Thanks. Please check out patreon.com/snapjudgments if you'd like to support the show. I'm going to say thank you to our patron of the month, Absolute Shannon. Thank you too, and I'm going to do this as fast as possible, as is tradition in the podcast, and I'm going to mess it up because I've got more names and I don't know the order anymore. Abigail, he's a manager, regardless of LAB, Inc., I am Frostman, Hota, Nevedite, Thinking Poker, Prime Brian, Burke, Ryan Wood, Caretix Lee, Quire, Kazushi, Archangel 3K, Black Dahlia, Perforos, The Goat Seeker, Hallowed, Nightmare, Only Fox, Synth, Fat Nick, Dirty Casual, Mr. Kerfuffle, Cables, who just gifted a million subs, thank you, Cables,
So many.
Tinder Prime, Philip Rakovich, Haplo, Kenny Logs of the Change Zone, The Bizza, Black Jeebus 23, Extra Skin, Skibby G, Jessica Gamble, Slush Death, King of Bros, Great Kazoo, Werewolf, Kepsi Hodo, Lunacris, Clam, Colonel Foreman, Rob Silverman, Miss M. Holland, David G. Wingfield, Stephen, Brian Coffin, Tristan Martin, Jason B., Craig Starry, Matt V., Ren Wrench, Corman, John Q., Jim McHugh, Yes Out, 8 Sage, One Big Man, Bookman for Reals, Cactus, Jack, BG, Quid Pro Joe, Snap, Decisions, Joe, Models, Monster Green, Green, Goblin, Unibot, Flan 56, Lee, Fuzzy Donald, Directors, Hoot, Oculars, Matt H, DJ, Mike Isaac, Snowflakes, Nick, The Greek Geek, Zodric, Skin Cannon, Deadman Falcon, Fafthor, Newman, Josie, Two Ties, The Great Lawrence, The Pirate King, Tucker, and of course, Gunny T, where Gunny gets to tell us what the T stands for.
The T stands for thank you so much for listening to us today. Thank you so much to our guests for joining us. And Aaron, thank you for being the co-host today. I guess I'm still the co-host, but thank you for co-hosting with me.
We're all co-hosting together. Y'all, follow the Infinite Podcast. Get on Twitch. Follow KiddilyChan. You won't regret it. Peace and love.